live. Restream can see the stream. YouTube should see this any second now. And we are live. So welcome everybody. The reason you are seeing two of me right now is this live stream is using two cameras. This one looks slightly washed out. The camera colours aren't great. This one is a Logitech webcam. This one, I know it's slightly wonky because it's on a kind of a movable thing, but this one has quite nice colours, nice sharp thing, really nice autofocus. This is an iPhone. And if you want to do live streaming with a really nice camera, or if you don't have a webcam to hand that's of any decent quality and you want to do really good broadcasts, you can use more than one iPhone, or you can use like one of the old iPod touches. If you've got a decommissioned phone, maybe it's got a cracked screen or something, you can still use it for this if the camera's good. So today we're going to be talking about how that works. Let's roll the intro. Yes, that's right. I am Adam Steele for Obs Studios, and I'm going to pick up this camera. This one, as you can see on the screen there, that's an iPhone 7, and there is an app you can get that works with OBS. OBS is what I use for live streaming, and OBS is really quite decent. You can see now from this being camera 2 that I'm drinking a nice rum and lemonade while we do this as a stream. I will show you on the screen exactly how we set this up. But first, a little bit of tasty rum. So, I'm going to turn that camera off for a second. And we're going to bring over OBS to the screen so you can see it. You're going to have that whoa hall of mirrors effect. Which I do apologise, but unfortunately that's what we need to do so that you can see what's going on. So I'm going to put the phone down. So OBS is the streaming software, and usually this isn't an entire tutorial of how to use OBS. You will need to be slightly familiar with it to do streaming, but let's just say that you need a webcam. The usual way that you would do it is you would go to your sources and add a video capture device, and that would be how you would add a usual webcam like this one you are seeing. I'm going to move the chat off my face. Yes, and so I'll answer questions at the end. Let's just get through the bulk of this. And so, oh, there we go. Yes, the OBS window is here, and normally you would not be able to add an iPhone just as a camera. There are some extra steps you need to do, and there is one downside to this, is you do have to pay for an app for the iPhone, but you only have to pay for it once. So if you've got several phones you want to use and iPod touches, you can even use iPads as cameras, then you can do that, and you only have to do this the once. So I'm going to bring up a tab of our friend Mr. Google, and let's just have a look. OBS Studio, is it obsproject.com? And obsproject.com is where everything is now. Is it on the forums? Yeah. Plugins. OBS Studio is what we're using, so we need to look in OBS Studio plugins. And there's one for another time, is OBS Virtual Cam. One we'll come back to is OBS NDI. But what we need right now is this one, iOS camera for OBS Studio. There we go. So when you've got OBS installed, it doesn't do a huge amount unless you start getting plugins, which can make it much more usable. So the iOS camera for OBS Studio, I would click on that, and that gives me an option to download there. So somewhere in here is a download link. Where are you? The download link is on this page anyway, so I'll leave this. I'll copy and paste this in the chat. There we go, so that's now in the chat. Evening to Chris in the chat, one of my friends. And yes. This is all nice advertisement. Where's the download link? Is it under... Oh, there we go, white. Go to download. So it's just obs.camera. And so that's the site. That's what you need to do for the App Store. So I'm going to paste this in chat. Oh, what am I doing? There we go. So it's obs.camera is the website where you can get the iOS link. Let's have a look. Where install the plugin for OBS Studio, USB. There it is. So it's on their website. Usually they're on the OBS forum, and I will put this in chat as well. So this is a two-part process. You need to download the OBS Studio plugin for OBS, and you need to download the app for the phone so that they will talk to each other. And then you have some nice choices. So once that's downloaded, you click and install it so that OBS recognizes it. You'll have to close and open OBS again, of course, for that to work. And then on your phone, you will have to buy and download the app, which you'll find at obs.camera. And when you open the app, it looks a lot like... I'll just bring up that. It looks a lot like this. It looks like a camera. It's got a USB little thing in the corner there, a little wheel in the corner. And for now, we're just going to talk about using it as a USB camera. So there's a little cog icon. I've got it on a little stand here, but it gives you resolution and frame rate, which you can choose. I've got it 1080p, 30 frames a second. Which is all fairly standard stuff. And then in the output, you've got a choice between USB, which is what it says, or NewTek NDI. For now, we're going to talk about USB because USB is arguably the best option. I'm just going to make the picture of me a little smaller. And so from there, we're almost there. What we want to do, I'm just going to delete these cameras out of my sources here so that we can start again. So what have I got here? I've got display capture, which you can see. Webcam is in the corner. DAW is audio, so is that audio, and browser is actually the chat window. So I want to add a source, and because I've installed this plugin, right at the bottom of my list is iOS camera. So I want to add iOS camera. Create new, I'm going to leave the name the same, but you can call it anything you like. And there it is. We've got a choice of iOS devices. The name is a horribly long number. If it's not working, generally once you've connected the USBs, you might have to quit the app and force quit it on the iPhone and then open it again. And then when you come into iOS device, you can hit reconnect to device. There we go. And that's full screen. And I can then move that around in OBS as I need it. I can crop it and treat it as any other webcam, and it automatically does white balancing and focusing. And if I click on the screen on the phone, it works exactly like it would in the native camera app. I'm sliding the brightness up and down and such. And you can see that compared to the Logitech webcam, the latency is just as low. Oh, it's echoing. Good point. So, thank you, Nick. Right at the bottom of my audio, the iOS camera is feeding sound in. So I need to hit the mute button on the iOS camera there. Thank you for mentioning that, because that's something that I do automatically. You can use the sound from the phone if you need a sound source. I personally have this. But yeah, if you don't want that, you need to go down your audio mixer and turn that off. Now, something that I found as an added bonus is you can have multiple phones connected like this, and like I said, you can use iPad touches. As long as you can see on the screen well enough on the phone to get the app installed, it doesn't matter if the phone is cracked. So you can get these really cheap on eBay if you don't have one to hand. You can use old iPod touches. According to their website, anything from an iPhone 6S and newer works perfectly. Anything older, you might run into issues. I think that's something to do with the way the iOS software works. But also, I'm going to now disconnect this. This is where it gets a little bit cleverer, because you can start to do some really clever stuff. So that's already a way to get a really great webcam. But what about, let's just check, see if this one's connected to the Wi-Fi. It is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this as a completely wireless camera, which means I could have this anywhere within network range. So what I need to do now to do that is go back to the OBS project forums, and the top plugin was the OBS NDI. Now NDI is a very clever thing that you can have. So if you download that and install it, you now get new options in OBS. And so, having installed the NDI, I use NDI quite a lot with Skype, because there's a special version of Skype that can output the video of people's faces as NDI sources, so I can then add them in here, so I'm not having to do really awkward capture, which makes everything nice and smooth. But also you can use NDI over a network. So where it said USB in this camera app, in that little cog icon, I can change the output format where it says USB, change that to NDI, and then hit done. Now at the very bottom now it says NDI broadcasting, waiting to connect to client, which is now sideways and very small, and because I'm using this on a webcam that makes it quite hard to see. But if I go to sources and add an NDI source, where's NDI? There we go, NDI source. And I could name this anything, but I'll just stick with NDI source. Then it's got source name. And right now the only option is Adam's iPhone. Now that may be the wrong one. That may not be popping up because of network issues with this old knackered iPhone, because that's from previous session. Now this slightly larger phone is my personal phone. This is my iPhone 10 or XS Max as it is, and I've got OBS camera on here. So I'll set this one up as NDI, which is what I did earlier to test it. And so now the NDI is broadcasting. Let that focus on my phone. NDI broadcasting. And that's connected very nicely to my network. Now if I choose one of these. And okay. Or is it the other one? Oh, connected to one client. Go. So that is my iPhone XS Max, not connected to anything, completely wirelessly using the network to transmit what is essentially a webcam, but completely wirelessly. Hi. And the video quality, as you can see on this, is incredibly detailed. You can see every strand in my beard, which, if you want that kind of thing, great. But that's way clearer and way better than something like these Logitech webcams, which were great when they were released. But if... Oh, mute the mic again. Thank you. Thank you, Marty. I'm going to keep forgetting to do that forever. There we go. Yes. Again, something to keep note of is that the sound source comes through every time. But yes, if I wasn't using this specific audio, I could use the phone's audio. If I wanted to use this wirelessly, I could still plug the lightning port into a battery brick or into the wall so that it's not going to go dead in the middle of a broadcast. But that means you could have this, even though if it's connected to the network, you could have this in the next room. Like, I don't know, the live room of a studio being broadcast whilst, you're using OBS for a live broadcast. This is something I'm definitely going to be taking advantage of when I get back to the studio, whenever that may be, because I'll just turn this off and quit. It does give me some real food for thought in terms of things that I can do, because now one of the issues that I have with my studio is the way that all the walls are floating. All the electrics are sealed in the walls. It's very difficult to get any new wiring through to do things like live streams. But we've got a really good network, so I could probably do that. And yes, it's one of those things where it opens up a world of possibilities. And yeah, this slightly washed out camera is now being replaced in the podcast and new live streams with an old iPhone, which I was going to give back to be recycled. But yeah, don't recycle your old iPhones if you want to do this. And if you've got more than one, you can do a multi-camera setup, and it all works perfectly well. So I hope this has been really, really useful for you. Now, one question that came up in chat just before I go was from Major Prometheus. Am I entering the mix competition on the Produce Like a Pro channel? Thousands of dollars of prizes shipped worldwide. No, I'm not. For several reasons. Firstly, I just don't really have the time to be in with a shot on a very, very, very small chance of winning something. But also, I have very close ties to the guys that Produce Like a Pro, which would make it a conflict of interest. At some point very soon, we're going to be releasing the Ultimate Reaper tutorial series. I think it's like a 78-part tutorial series, which is way more in-depth than anything we've ever done. It's been filmed, it's ready to go. We're doing the whole, getting ready to do the whole release at the moment. And yeah, that's going to be really, really big, but it means that I know Warren, I know his team, I know them quite well. It would feel really bad if I won that, because in the next couple of months, it's going to be well known that I know those guys and they are working with me. So yeah. Plus, a lot of the stuff that's in the prizes is stuff like a Sontronics podcast mic Pro, which I'm hoping to get hold of one anyway, because I know the guys at Sontronics, to do a review and probably to replace this mic. And one of the other prizes was an Audient interface. I already have a nice Audient interface right here. So, it would be almost disingenuous of me to enter that competition. Plus, there will probably be, being completely honest, some really, really, really good mixers who are up and coming, who are going to take part in that competition, where their strength may be getting a great mix. And I'd like to think I can make a really great mix, but I'd like to think my strength is in explaining what I've done and how I've done it, and essentially teaching. So yeah, it's one of those things. So yes, it's a little off topic from the rest of the video, but yeah, it was just a short one today that was talking about how to use one of those cameras. So I'm sure anybody else who was not interested in the mixing and audio production side of things has long since tuned out. So anyone who is still watching, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I'm Adam Steele for Hot Pole Studios. Have a look at us on Facebook, because I don't really push Facebook enough. It's facebook.com/HotPoleStudios. The name as per this thing. There we go, Hot Pole Studios. We are based in the UK, and we do tutorials on music production and all sorts of nerdy stuff. and check out the podcast where we talk about music tech and guitar production, all that kind of stuff, every Thursday, 8 p.m. UK time. And we do lots and lots of tutorials about all sorts of stuff, so subscribe and stick around. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm off to go and have a chat with another client, and I will see you all very soon. Goodbye!
Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this, feel free to check out our other videos, as you can find here, or check out our Facebook and Twitter, or our Patreon page, which helps us to make more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.